From the Playboy Club in the heart of London, Premier League Poker is back with the launch of the Mixed Game Championship. 12 big names, 3 different card games, and 1 ultimate champion.
And I'll hold them all the way. No limit soldier for life.
You're just owning me over there.
I'm either going to look like an absolute genius or the biggest donk.
You're criticizing my play. You never won anything.
How can you take it personally?
It's starting. I can feel it.
Tell
you know you have one thing that you're better than me?
I tell the truth.
You're taller. I think you're a donk.
I hate him. Idiots.
I just wanted to get out of here. I was like, this is like my family.
Just be quiet and say, every once in a while, just say, Tony G is my hero. Then you're gonna look good.
Tony G is my hero.
I'm a poker fan. Yeah, we know you're a poker fan. You're not a poker player.
Oh, man, Pescatori. You won a tournament about 10 years ago, didn't you?
Luke Schwartz, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, genius, baby. We're telling you, genius. Look how ugly this is. Look what I make you do.
What would Luke do?
Oh, I'm not talking anymore. I've got a hand.
You're just a pigeon.
A pigeon.
Are you laughing at me?
Yes! She just doesn't let me win one hand. Have you ever let me win one? It's not even the river yet. You're already complaining. Every hand is on.
What happened?
I'm still crushing it.
You guys got no hat. It was the time to go.
I'm not here to have fun.
All I know is I'm all in with any two.
Never ends, does it? They just keep trying to rob you.
Feel the power.
Always picking on the young guys.
It's always left to pick on anymore.
Did you see my cards? No. Because you've been spot on every single time.
Did I get owned by Timoshenko again?
How can I miss that? Sweet. Unreal. I'm making a show, bro.
Welcome to a brand new format from the Party Poker Premier League, the Mixed Game Championships. The great game of poker embraces more than just one discipline. And while No Limit Texas Hold'em might be a regular on your TV screens, it by no means tells the complete story of the game. And now some of poker's top players will be battling it out in 3 separate disciplines as we look to find a more complete poker player. This is how the Mixed Game Championship works. Our 12 players have been split into 2 groups. Each group will play a game in 3 different disciplines, earning points for where they finish. First up, they'll play No Limit Hold'em, then Pot Limit Omaha, and finally Pot Limit Hold'em. The top 3 players in each group after 3 games will meet in a mixed game final. Where players are tied in the league, the player with the highest finish will be ahead. Let's take a look at the scoring. The winner of each game gets 8 points, the runner-up gets 6 points, third place gets 3 points, fourth 2, fifth 1, and it's 0 points to the player who gets knocked out first. A player can double the points they receive by playing their double-up cards. They can only do this in 1 of the 3 games. Once on the final table, each point will give a player 20,000 chips. The first match is about to get underway in the Cottontail Lounge at the Playboy Club London here in Mayfair. We have a great lineup in Group A, including 2 of poker's loudest mouths, 2 World Series of Poker bracelet winners, and a member of the 2011 November 9.
This American's one of the hottest players in poker, fresh off a 4th place finish in the main event of the World Series of Poker, Matt Giannetti.
It's my first Premier League. I'm really looking forward to going out there and giving it my best shot.
He says he's the best player in the world. This online phenom and high-stakes cash player was runner-up in the Party Poker Premier League 2010. It's full flush, Luke Schwartz.
I probably think I'm going to qualify. I mean, the only best player in the field and the heat.
She's a former Academy Award-nominated actress who also holds a World Series of Poker bracelet, Jennifer Tilley.
I am a shark, and I am going to chew up these other players, and I'm going to spit them out undigested. That's how baller I am.
Max Pescatori has 2 World Series of Poker bracelets, including 1 in Pot Limit Hold'em and Pot Limit Omaha. The Italian Pirate will fancy his chances in this format.
It's on like Donkey Kong.
He's considered one of the best tournament players in the UK and holds a World Series of Poker bracelet. It's flushy James Dempsey.
I'm just going to run good. I'm going to run better than everybody else.
The mouth from down under is Australian Tony G. With $4.5 million at career tournament winnings, he delights in his opponent's pain.
I'm here to dominate this Premier League.
Mixed Game Championships kick off right now. The 6 players in Group A are ready, and I can tell you that 3 of them have decided to use their double-up cards. That's Tony G, Luke Schwartz, and James Dempsey. That means I'll get double the points for this game. So let's talk tactics. Tony, why are you using it here in the No Limit Hold'em round?
Well, it's probably my strongest game, and I want to dominate this Premier League from the start.
Is there a strategy advantage to using it early, Luke?
Well, at least you find out like what you have to do for the rest of the heats, and it's my strongest game as well, so that's why I'll use it.
Would that be your reasoning behind this as well, then, James? Strongest game?
Not so much strongest game, but like Luke said, I just want to know where I am after the first game. Now, if I mess up today, I know what I've got to do in the Omaha and the pot limit. So. Okay, well, good luck, everyone.
Let the carousel begin from the Playboy Club. New days, new beginnings for this partypoker.com Premier League Mixed Game Championship. And Sorel, kind of exciting stuff right off the bat with 3 of these players deciding to use their double-up card. Are you convinced by the arguments that Luke and James made for why they want to use it?
I don't know. I think there's like more information and more benefit in using it at the end, especially if you work it under pressure. And also, I would think that most people would use it at the beginning because usually No Limit is everyone's best game.
You're gonna raise, or are you just gonna call?
I'm gonna raise.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you want? What if I re-raise?
Okay, raise
I don't
to
know.
6,000.
Oh,
I would
you
say
know.
you're full of Patron. Call.
That's a good read.
Yeah.
This hand, it's Tilly who's raised,
Pass.
and Luke has flatted her on the button.
Pass.
My read is I'm gonna win this pot, though.
Is that your read?
Yeah.
2 players.
If I miss with this,
Do you think
hand,
Luke's sort of idea right now is that he's going to be playing just a lot of flops? I mean,
Yeah, I think
I'm
at this
gonna
point with
check
the
so you
blinds
can bet and then I'll call.
so low,
Check.
150 big
Yeah.
blinds, he's got a lot of room to see a lot of flops. So I think we're definitely going to be seeing
Raise.
Luke playing a lot of the hands and seeing a lot of flops.
30,000. Call.
Luke with the flush draw on the flop, and he's called
No, I did not really.
Tilly's check raise.
Check. Check.
That was Schwartz in 2 minds there. He couldn't decide whether to bet, whether to check.
Maybe the king helps me.
It might. Oh dear. I don't know. I should not have checked the turn.
Is it allowed to show her one?
Yeah, show me one.
No. Oh, that's not
You
allowed.
can't show me one?
Oh, maybe it was an angle. I knew that I couldn't show you one.
Oh, I really had the best hand.
You're folding.
How do you know?
Just know you could never call. What could I have though on this board? Just think about it this way, yeah. I could. Right now, I'm telling you, I'm only repping a king high flush draw. I'm doing a Phil Lock.
That's exactly what he has. One thing about Luke, he always tells the truth. But it never seems to hurt him.
What?
You were behind at every street.
And
Oh, yeah,
if
I
we
don't
like
think so.
table talk,
Really?
we are gonna love this game.
Well, it had bottom set, but you know.
You know, I've always been kind of a bit of a cocky person, but you know, in poker, you kind of have to be, I'd say, not arrogant, but you have to have a lot of self-belief, and then obviously it kind of shows when you're on the TV. There's a million reasons why I'm probably the favourite to win this tournament. All TV tournaments I've done extremely well in. Plus, you know, even if I hadn't done well in TV tournaments, I've played so many more hands than all these people. My profits online is just higher than anyone, maybe not Timoshenko, because he's won a lot of big tournaments, but you know, apart from him, I mean, I think it's clear that I'm the favourite. I just keep breaking off, coming second, third, second, fourth. You know, it's so tilting getting to final table. In the last Premier League, the big one, it wasn't a mixed game, 100 grand buy-in. I just came second to Benjamin when I had a 3-1 chip stack going into heads-up play, and it's just brutal. Obviously, this one, it's not as much money, but it would do a lot for my confidence, I guess, even though I'm already pretty confident, as you can tell.
We'll be back with more action from the Playboy Club in London as the Party Poker Premier League Mixed Game Championship continues after the break. Welcome back from the Playboy Club in London. The Party Poker Premier League has expanded with the creation of the Mixed Game Championship. 12 great players are competing in 3 different disciplines to find out who is the best of the best. Let's get back over to our first league match.
Lovely lights and setting of the Playboy Club here in the best part of London. Luke Schwartz has been reined back in just a little bit. Those markers you see next to his chip count, along with Tony G and Dempsey, that indicates that those 3 are using their double up cards this heat. They'll get double points. 8, 6, 3, 2, 1, 0 are the points awarded for where you finish.
Raise to 5,000.
12,000.
We raised to 12,000.
The first 3-bet of this heat, Jennifer Tilly would have raised on the button, and Luke re-raising up to 12K.
I don't have that big a hand.
I gathered.
If I had a bigger hand, I would have made it 15,000. I got bet sizing tells. Tap flop didn't even hit me, but I'll still bet it.
Tilly's hit top pair here.
I'll bet a small bet.
Okay.
11,000 only.
Bet something I can call.
You can call 11? That's good. Good news for me.
And now for Jennifer, I mean, in position here, this is pretty much call, right? There's no reason to raise and no reason to fold.
I know she qualified.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a question of whether I qualify.
I mean, you don't want to raise because the guy is probably not going to fold a better hand. And you're definitely not folding because top pair is like the nuts in this spot.
You definitely got me beat now. What's the min bet?
How much is that?
2,000 min bet. You should raise. Ace 8.
Oh, 2,000.
You got a queen? Queen 10? King 6.
King
Good hand.
6.
Good hand.
This is a lesson that Phil taught me, which has exposed me to ridicule for the last 7 years. He said, never bet on the river. You'll only get called by a card.
That's what a nit would say.
Yeah, that's
why your husband's a nit.
That was the first rule of poker. He said, never bet or raise on the river. You'll only get called by a hand that can beat you.
I should do a Tony G actually. Tell someone I have limp blind, have the ace king.
That was a good
Get the guy to go all in with ace jack.
But there's no Phil helmet.
Who am I going to do that to here? Who's going to fall for that? Where is the Helmuth on this table? I honestly don't think there's someone. I don't think there's anyone as bad as to fall for that on this table.
3 different disciplines in this championship: pot limit hold'em, pot limit Omaha. But first up, no limit hold'em. Let's remind ourselves how to play. Each player receives 2 cards face down. These are known as hole cards. Action starts on the player to the left of the blinds. Each player has the option to either call to match the big blind, to raise, or to fold their hand. Once all players have acted, 3 community cards are dealt face up on the table. These are known as the flop. Another round of betting follows. Players can either check their hand, which means no bet, raise a previous bet, or fold. Once the flop action is complete, another community card is dealt, the turn. Another round of betting follows, and the final community card, the river, is dealt. One more round of betting follows. Players are looking to make the best 5-card poker hand using their hole cards and the 5 shared community cards. They can use both, one, or neither of their hole cards to make the best hand. As it's no limit, a player can bet as many chips as they have in front of them at any given time. If you bet all you have, it's known as going all in. A hand can be won either by all other players folding to another player, or by players showing down their cards and the best hand taking the pot. Of course, it'll also be quite interesting to see if the double up cards are going to be affecting the play too. Tony G, along with Dempsey and Luke, of course, the 3 players who are going for double points here. And for them, going out early would be a real disaster. You know, it's kind of interesting, this whole thing, because there's no real money at stake in the individual heats, Sorel.
Right, yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. Those guys who have used their cards on this round are definitely going to be trying to move up spots, and that's going to be critical to do. And, you know, obviously the other players are going to know that and apply maximum pressure.
That's the EP1.
We've got a big hand here.
Oh, wow.
Tony G's slow played the the pair of queens from the big blind, and now he's flop top set.
You might like bluff me out. Ooh, that was an interesting card. That's not good. That's not good for either of us.
That is not a good card. I checked.
I checked as well. I didn't like that card. Check, check. Let's have a deal of Blondie.
Check, check.
I mean, let's have a river.
That's a nervy card.
That's an unsettling card. That's a card Tony feels kind of happy about his hand. Ooh, does he?
Okay, bet 30,000.
30,000. What's he repping here? Queen Jack, top 2. Never jack too much.
It was quite interesting because Tony checked in the dark on the flop, and Luke bet in the dark on the flop.
Oh, no, flush and no, flush got there on the turn. You checked, so nothing got there. Still feels like a fold though. Have you ever seen anyone say like, "Oh, it just feels like a fold" and then re-raise? I'm gonna do that one of these days. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it without it as well because it's such a good move. If I just popped you now, you couldn't call. You'd be like, "What an angle! This guy's got Queen Jack." This guy's no. You say this guy's got Jack 10. Yeah, I mean the best play here is just to go 100k.
I don't think that would work out, Luke.
Go on, show me the bluff, big man. Come on, you're from Lithuania.
Did Luke figure this out, or is he just not curious enough?
Queen Jack? 2 queens. 2 queens? Nah, you don't. Bowlers doesn't have 2 queens.
Well, he doesn't know yet, but the fact of the matter is, it was a strange way for Tony to play.
How much can I bet on it?
You can bet up to no money if you want to bet.
You make a market? What odds you give me?
Nah, I'm too much of a fish. I lost all my money on Spain yesterday. I'm not doing no more bets. NL Hold'em all the way. No limit soldier for life. Fraser the Razor.
Plus.
The Razor. Where's the Razor? Rise. I'll rise because I'm a razor, but I'm really folding. But all right.
Wow. Luke having fun with. Well, Ian Fraser, of course, a stalwart, a former champion of the World Open, which is sort of the forerunner of this Premier League.
Bowling in some limped pot. You should always take the aggression when someone limps. Oh, check, even more ball. Oh, he takes the aggression. I bullied him into the bet. And he got raised. I don't want to say anything during the hand, but
I think Luke did, and Pescatori's on the check raise mission.
I'll rattle down. There you go. Okay.
Is this clear cut for you for Dempsey? I mean, should he have just given this up, or?
You kind of have to peel when you bet the flop with second pair and it's a blind-on-blind battle.
Right.
I think the hand has played itself so far, other than Pescatori's tricky check-raise move. Looks like James is betting here after max checks. That's interesting. Wow.
I mean, Pescatori check-raised the flop and check-folded the turn?
I just don't like that one bit.
You had a big hand. You had to make it 14, 16,000. You rep nothing making it 10,000. Honestly, it was bad. That was a bad raise. I have to say it was a bad raise size. You had the heart, as you said, you had the heart, but you did not have the technical ability there. So you were just somewhere in the middle of us two, but you weren't quite there. If you get right in the middle and get there, then you'll get there.
That's a really odd line for him to take, isn't it?
Very, very odd line, especially with the 7 of hearts in your hand. I mean, that's...
What do you think his, what's the reasoning either way?
I mean,
Then you have to call 2 bets there, or?
That was a lyric.
Yeah, I mean, the check raise was actually, I was impressed by that. You know, he's got such, like, a ton of equity with the king, and then he has the 7 of hearts on top of that for backup. As it turns out, the 7 of hearts wouldn't have been good if the flush came. But still, I mean, how do you fold top pair blind versus blind after check raising the flop? That just...
If he was going to check fold the turn, you think he would have been better off check calling the flop, if you know what I mean? Like.
Correct.
Look at that, call out the small blind. That shows no respect. If someone calls you out the small blind...
I know it's a little alarming because he thought first, and then he really slowly...
Dempsey deciding to flat call with the ace-queen from the small blind. That's brought Giannetti in. Dempsey feels a little bit, well, he's going to like this flop.
I want Tilly to win the sand. Go on the Tilly.
I know, I want to
Go on the Pablo. What are you doing over there, Pab?
This is an interesting flop, actually, for Dempsey and Tilly. I mean, Tilly's flopped pretty big here too. She's got the second nut flush draw with a straight draw, and Dempsey has ace high with the nut flush draw and a gut shot straight draw.
And Jennifer's bet quite heavy here, 22 into 33, 2/3 pot bet. I mean, calling, and this pot starts to get big, and Dempsey can't exactly raise without being willing to go all the way, can he?
Right, and I don't think he will. I mean, obviously raise fold is just about the worst play you can possibly make.
And he can't shove. I mean, that's a massive bet right now, can he?
No, he just can't. I mean, you can't be a professional poker player and shove here. I mean, it's just so scared. I mean, I think the optimal play here is just to call, feel it out, see what happens. His hand is so well disguised right now. I mean, he's got, like, it's hard to put him on ace-queen when he just calls a raise. And
right now he's wishing he 3-bet before the flop, and now that he didn't, he has to call and be prepared to fold on the turn. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think Dempsey has a decent amount of showdown value. You know, like he has ace high with, like, Jennifer Tilly has obviously played a lot of hands. She could have anything here.
Oh, he's raising, and if he's raising, that means he's calling if Jennifer Tilly pushes all in, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't see how he could fold with the equity he has. So, I mean, maybe he has a read on Tilly that she's weak and is just going to go with it.
Oh, she's so all in.
Yeah, I don't see how she's going to fold here. Maybe she's just going to call.
I love it when a big pot's brewing. Doesn't everyone love it when a big pot's brewing? I love it. We love it.
She has called. She called quite quick.
I mean, the intensity of a big pot.
Now this pot, 143,000. Dempsey pretty much has to shove with like all of his every turn, doesn't he?
Yeah, and it turns out it's probably going to be a great play because it's going to get Jennifer off her equity.
I mean, he can't just check, can he?
I don't think he can. I mean, if you make this play, you got to go with it. You got to keep going with it. You can't give up. If you decide to raise this flop, the stacks the way they are, you can't just give up at this point.
Yeah, but this is not a winner-take-all, Sorel. I mean, he has to realize if he bagels out now, it's like 25K down the drain. I mean, he might have to lick his wounds here.
Yeah, it's a really good point. But then again, if that was the case, then he probably shouldn't have check raised.
Oh, he must. He hates life, right? He really hates this situation.
Wow.
And Jennifer could just now take the pot away from him.
She could, and maybe if Jennifer bets small enough, Dempsey will probably go for the check raise all in. But if Jennifer commits herself here, I just don't see how James is going to call.
Check.
Or raise.
She's missed a bet, hasn't she?
Wow, that card.
That's just unfortunate. Really.
That's
kind of not as interesting as it would have been the other way.
Right. I think they should deal another river.
Dempsey can bet huge and Jennifer can't fold now.
Right.
It's actually the worst card in the deck for Jennifer Tilly, and
James, but she thinks it's the best. That's the thing. Well, one of the best at least.
Right. It's very hard for him to have the ace of clubs here in her mind, isn't it?
Right.
Oh, it looks like Brighton's firing. God, Brighton came with a Brighton bet. That's not even a Brighton bet, that's a bet. That's a London bet.
That's 85.
A Brighton bet would have been like 12,000.
Well, 85K into just over.
You didn't grow up in Brighton though, did you?
Just over half pot bet.
London.
And
is that classified?
She just can't.
Classified?
You can't blame Jennifer here. There is no folding, is there? I mean,
no, absolutely not. I mean, she could even consider a raise here. I mean, but I don't think. I mean, James is probably not going to call with a worse hand if she raises. I mean, against
everyone's intense at the poker
against certain players, you could definitely raise here,
but
I think Jennifer just has to call here.
Go on, she called it. Go on, he's got the nuts. That's unlucky. She's got second nuts. That is unlucky.
It is unlucky, and it feels like that pot was there to be won for Tilly on the turn, and perhaps even on the river. Dempsey's gotten really lucky, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I think both of them misplayed the turn, to be honest. I mean, you shouldn't have to get to showdown there. I mean, they both have equity. I think James checking. I just don't see how he's going to go all in if Jennifer bets big enough, or call. So. Jennifer could have taken it away on the turn.
Harris Scott's over talking to Jennifer Tilly.
Jennifer's had kind of a frustrating start with the nut flush But second nut flush against the nut flush. Talk to me about how this is going.
Well, that particular hand, it's really funny because on the turn I started to think like if I got there then I might not be good. When he checked to me I thought maybe he was on a draw too, and since I had the queen, what else could he have but the ace? I almost folded on the river, but unfortunately I didn't. Right now basically all I have left is one move, which is all in, and boy, I sure hate that sort of waiting for a hand to push in with.
Look at the results of the hand. Dempsey now leaps ahead over 450,000, and Tilly has lost a third of her stack.
We'll be back after the break with more from the first league match of the Mixed Game Championship in London. Welcome back to the first ever Party Poker Premier League Mixed Game Championship from the Playboy Club in London. Our first heat is underway, so let's get back to the action.
Phil Lack tries to show character, but he's really just getting little angles and edges out of it. Tony G's actually a character. That's what you got to love about the guy.
Yeah, Tony's like a lion that strides
I'm thrilled to be alongside Sorel Mizzi, who will be playing in Group B of this event. Sorel, the buzz has all been about the double-up cards. The three players who have played them said they did so because they wanted to know where they stood after this heat, and of course, No Limit Hold'em being their strongest game. What do you think?
I understand the points they made about using the card early to kind of know where you are, but that doesn't really have any relevance in terms of strategy, whereas playing it last or in the middle will.
I have to hit the correct flop.
Schwartz has raised this, and Max has called out of the small blind and smashed this flop. And yet...
Don't worry, you don't have to open your cards. I'm not looking at your cards.
And I wonder if Pescatori was gonna call a raise there. He's not looking to make pots too big, is he?
Probably not. I mean, he has enough value with the ace high to check call the flop and like be comfortable that he could have the best hand.
Uh-oh, someone hit king queen.
10 passes.
Someone hit king queen, didn't they? And I got a queen as well, so it's pretty sick. I'm not raising. Can I show him a card? He's got king queen. I don't know what king jack suited he's got. Bloody hell. I don't know if I can fold though. Too much of a fish. I'm not fish, I'm actually one of the best poker players in the world, but go on then, show me it.
He is gonna hate this.
Show me it. Ace 4, good hand. I would always call that out of the small blind. He played it like an Italian. Call out the small blind.
Luke teasing Pescatori, but he's quite happy with the way things turned out.
I don't think Luke would have folded that out of the small blind, to be honest.
Instincts in Italy is just a call. That's how it is.
Yeah, but I'm American.
Do you know
James Dempsey using the double-up card this heat, and if he comes through, obviously first place to Dempsey would be worth 16 points. To the others who don't have the double-up card, it's only worth 8. 16 points. There's every reason to assume that 16 points could actually get you through on its own merits.
Yeah, I agree with that. 16 points. I mean, someone would have to win 2 without the double in order to match that. So I think that 16 would probably be enough to get someone through completely.
11 passes.
Is that out of order? Is that not by the Italian rule? Will I get shot like it's Godfather? Oh, you're not allowed to do that? I've been naming Phil Lack all day.
Gentily's raised this up to 11, and
all the Phils.
Don't wait.
Phil Ivy.
Giannetti, thinking about the 3-bet, decided to just call. He has the MO of someone who likes to play flops from any position.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We've seen him in the main event playing a lot of hands out of the big blind, and he's also not shying away from raising them either. So.
You don't have to do that.
20,000.
Tony doesn't qualify.
He doesn't qualify.
He doesn't qualify at the time.
And Tilly, when you check behind on the flop there, are you obligated to carry it farther?
Like running a cash business.
No.
So what is her plan right now?
I don't know. I mean, it's obviously a really bad flop for her, and even a worse turn. Maybe she thinks Giannetti has a draw or some sort of
IT, why aren't you playing tournaments?
you know, maybe
bro?
she's just trying to like represent a hand and
What do you mean laptop's broken? That's
take
my
it away on the
laptop.
river. But it doesn't look like Giannetti's going anywhere.
And if you're Matt Giannetti here, you're always value betting because Jennifer looks like she could have a pocket pair, perhaps, right? 8s, 9s, 10s, that sort of thing.
Right.
Or
if Jennifer raises here, it really wouldn't make sense to Giannetti, and I don't think she would. I don't think he's ever folding, regardless of what she makes it, because after checking back, or after just calling on the turn and checking back the flop, I mean, it's hard to put her on a flush, and it's definitely almost impossible to put her on a full house. So I don't think a raise is going to work here. But, you know, she might just call and think she has the best hand.
she has got herself in a bit of a pickle, and
Go all in.
yeah, she made the right decision there.
I can't go all in. I can't be the first one out.
If Giannetti had known what she had, he might have tried for the check, induced the bluff. But
Oh, there you go. Right.
Tilly, sort of on a short stack, without it really being her fault. But Tilly, though, not using her double up card, even if she does get the bagel here, will still feel she's well in this.
I'm trying to do maybe more acting, have poker be more of a hobby. But the problem with poker, it has this centrifugal force. You get a little bit close to it, and it just sucks you in. It's just sort of like, you're like, oh, I think I'm gonna lean over and peer at the abyss, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, where am I? What's my real life? Do I have any skills? I am a little schizophrenic. There's good Jennifer, the killer poker player, and there's really bad, confused Jennifer that just really doesn't know what she's doing. And I never know which one is gonna show up to the game. And I guess that's discipline. Like, I'm always hoping killer Jennifer is going to show up, but sometimes idiot Jennifer shows up. So that's kind of the fun of it.
Tilly's half of perhaps poker's best known couple. Partner Phil Lack finished 4th in last season's Premier League. Has he been advising her?
Phil doesn't give me advice anymore because we've got to that point in our relationship where I get really cranky and I'm like, I can do it. I know what I'm doing. Get away from me. Like, if I come out of a tournament and I'm telling him the story of how I busted out and he tries to say how I could have better played it, I get really angry at him. He's gotten to the point he doesn't even want to sit at the same table with me because I'm that person where even if he's not involved in the hand, I say, well, I wanted to re-raise, but I saw you looking at me. So he's like, oh, yeah, why didn't I just meet a nice girl that's like in the fashion business or something? The great thing about playing in games like this, it's really amazing to play with the best poker players in the world. It ups my game, it gets my competitive spirit going, and it's just really fun to be challenged. But it's really a tough table. They say if you don't know who the fish at the table is, it's you.
Phil Luck is the American Roberto Romanello. Anytime he's got a hand, you just hear the mouthful. Okay. You hear more than a mouthful. Oh, it'd be sick if you had ace of clubs. I've got ace of clubs. How genius, man! He went so genius.
Did he end up winning?
Still 6 players here, but we're in the 3rd level of blinds. And Sorel, are we starting to get in that territory where we're going to be looking at some all-ins or perhaps even losing a player?
Yeah, Jesse, I think we're getting to that stage where, especially Jennifer, she's in a situation where she can still open and fold to a re-raise, but she can't be seeing many flops here at this point with people raising in front. So she has a perfect stack to sort of 3-bet and get all in, and I think she can afford to like open a few, open some hands and try to get like a bigger stack so that she can do more with her chips.
Oh yeah. That's definitely making the team view. You throw a chip into your own head.
Just calling the 9s here from the small blind. This still is this a weak play?
Well, I don't think so because he can't really re-raise, and unless he wants to go with the hand, and he can't fold because it's too strong of a hand. So
Bet 20,000.
And it's come an absolute bingo. Now, between the check raise and the call, where are you?
I think calling is best on this type of board. I mean, the only time that Dempsey is continuing,
Raise.
oh wow, is with a king or better or some sort of hand that he's going to float with.
And you were talking before about how the check raise is a really polarizing bet on the flop. It's such a dry board that
Face queen, he's folding.
I mean, Schwartz never has a king here, really, does he? So what is Dempsey supposed to think about this?
Right, and that's why it's such a strong play against someone like Dempsey, who's obviously a thinking player, and that's exactly what he's thinking right now. How could Luke have a hand here? I mean, it's such a dry board, and he's probably not check raising me with a set, and I don't think he would check raise me with a king. So maybe I'll just call and see what happens on the turn. That's probably what's going through his head. But
and I've got more chips than him, and this is a great spot for Luke to try and just take it away from me because I can't continue if I don't have a king.
Yeah, exactly. And you know,
is Luke gonna get him?
I would love to see James call here.
Queen.
But
Total airball. I'll show one for the camera if they didn't see it.
Schwartz tried his best. He could not get Dempsey to bite.
I'm making a show, bro.
You certainly are.
These guys are insane. I'm Jesse May. My voice turns up when anyone's got a big hand.
Do you think the table goes around in network?
Never lacking in confidence. Still waiting, though, is Luke for that first major title. Jennifer Tilly trying something a little different.
Loads of chips in the pot like that. You don't like.
Pass.
Oh, it was sexy. That's not flirting, though. Don't tell Phil what. That's not flirting. I was just admiring the way you put the chips in the pot.
Oh, right, thank you.
I'll find out when
She doesn't matter what they say as long as they all fold.
Fourth level. Go on the Scotland, the dealer. Let me flop top set. That's a serious American face right now.
Giannetti, of course, he calls so much out of the big blind, and I guess if he was to re-raise there, with Jennifer Tilly only having like 20 big blinds, he pretty much has to play for stacks.
right. Yeah, I agree with that. But again, we have noticed that Giannetti plays a lot defends a lot of his big blinds, so he's therefore not from Brighton.
And Tilly there, that was a check on the flop that she really shouldn't. You know, if there's ever going to be a time to bet the flop, it's there because that's her only chance of winning that pot, isn't it?
Right, and it's never good when you're repping what the other guy has, because at this point she's kind of repping the ace high when she checks behind, or maybe some sort of 10 or 9. But Giannetti has that, and he's not folding unless the straight gets there.
He became it because he's the only character. Sorry, he's the only character in poker. He's one of the only characters in poker.
Check.
Wow. Okay, she checks.
Helmut. That's the only reason he's still alive. Is because he's a character. Utter donk.
Check.
A filthy donk.
It kind of looks like Jennifer has like a 10, or sorry, an ace, and Matt has like a 10 or a queen and might fold. But as it turns out, again, Jennifer loses the minimum. She could have won the pot with a bet on the flop, though, obviously. I mean, definitely with what Giannetti had, but that flop does hit his range like quite a bit.
The first league match of the inaugural Premier League Mixed Game Championship continues after the break. Welcome back to the Party Poker Premier League Mixed Game Championship from the Playboy Club in Mayfair. We'll be finding out who is our ultimate all-around poker player as the pros battle it out in 3 different card games. Right now, it's the No Limit Hold'em match for our first group.
Major titles and bracelets abound, but it's been all about the ego of one man.
Before we get started, I'm going to donk it off, I can tell. If I bust, I've made a huge mistake. I cannot bust to these fish. I've got Tony G, Jennifer Tilly, Max Pescatori, James Dempsey, and November 9 a luck box. This Giannetti, he's on fire, isn't he? He's raised 2 hands in an orbit. All I know is I'm all in with any 2. I've got a 6th sense in poker, and my technical ability is spot on. I've played billions of hands online, yeah? I'm one of the biggest online no-limit winners of all time, yeah? Oh, genius, baby! Genius! What a nick! Pigeons always talk about my blind. You're raising my blind. You're always raising my blind for the 2nd time in the match was played for 24 hours. I'll play anyone heads up for any amount of money, yeah?
There you go.
Too wild. When I go to Prague for the EPT, Jungle Man's offered the issue to the world, 100k heads up at 200, 400, right? No one's going to take that, all prang of him, yeah? I'll offer a smaller challenge for all you pigeons that are too scared to take the Jungle Man challenge. 100, 200 heads up, 50k buy and unlimited rebuys. If you stack me, I'll rebuy. If you stack me again, I'll rebuy. I'll be in for 500k until you bust my whole roll. Okay, it's not going to happen. NL Hold'em all the way. No limit soldier for life. I'll take anyone on. No limit Hold'em. Let's go.
There you have it.
53 hands, Dempsey on top. Schwartz has climbed all the way up, and look, Jennifer Tilly, this is the lowest she's been the entire heat, and she would have said No Limit Hold'em her best game.
I'm really surprised with Jennifer's low continuation bet percentage. I think with the stack that she has, she kind of has to like pick a spot at this point.
Nice.
The blind's now 5 and 10,000.
Well, she's choosing this hand to go with it, and
I mean, when she's got so few big blinds, it's really she's got to go with anything that looks good, and this is quite a eights is
yeah, I mean, 8s you're never folding there. I mean, that's about as good as it gets in that spot. She's going to be in the big blind next hand, or in 2 hands. And
That's a good saying.
well, this is our first all-in situation, and that's over quick for Tilly. She needs runner for the straight, or she's going to grab the bagel. The only good news for Jennifer, she hasn't yet used her double-up card, so she's well in this Premier League Championships, but not tonight.
yeah, it's never fun going out last in this format where last gets 0. But you know, like the biggest pay jump is going to be from 3rd to 2nd, so it's going to be interesting to see how the players act during that massive bubble.
Just off the table, Jennifer Tilly, it's a good thing you didn't use your double up card. Why is that?
Well, you know what? I was thinking I just got off the plane yesterday and I'm maybe a little jet lagged. And I felt like it would give me something to look forward to. Like if in case I stumbled kind of out of the gate, then actually I have like a power card to use in a later heat. And so it turned out to be very fortuitous. And I think I was a little bit off my game today. So, but I wonder if you create that. I wonder if you say, I'm going to be a little off my game in the first heat. And then you go in and you're like, oh, look at this. I'm a little off my game. Good thing I didn't use my double up card. So you have to think about being totally on your game in the next heat. I know. Well, I feel very optimistic. I think the good thing is when you have nothing to lose, then you can get a little sort of desperate and crazy. I think I played poorly, not horribly poorly, but I feel like I could have played a lot better.
When he wants deck, he sends in the ink.
Does this sort of free Pescatori up a little bit to kind of play a little fast and loose right now? How does he view it here?
Well, I don't think 0 is much different from 1. So 5th is going to be almost as bad as 6th. The way the payouts go, I mean, you're going to have to get at least 1 second in order to advance, I think. I mean, that's the thing. Like 3rd place, if you get 3rd in all 3, then you're probably going to make it. But most of the time, unless you get a second, at least 1 second or at least 1 first, you're pretty much on dead to make it.
I guess Luke has accidentally limped in here from behind the button. It's pretty much come perfect for him. The nut flush. Although Giannetti flopped 2 pair from the big blind, and this is a terrible mistake that Luke made now, isn't it?
Well, I mean,
it's going to backfire. Giannetti never would have called the Jack 3 up for a raise, would he have?
Nope, not even a min raise. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Maybe Schwartz is going to hit that nut flush.
He's showing off the 9 o'clock anyway, right?
He's gotten check raised here. Can Luke, can he keep this pot small, or does he have to swell it?
I definitely think that the correct play here is just to call and see what happens on the turn. His ace high does have value, and he's got the nut flush draw with it, and then make his decision on the turn. He doesn't have to make a decision right now. The stacks the way they are, they're fairly, they're not super deep, but I think they're too deep to like get all in here. So,
Call.
Did Luke kind of decide that Giannetti wouldn't be check raising the flop, preparing to give it up for the shove, or? I mean, this gets really tricky. Is Luke prepared to fold now that he's missed this turn?
It's really hard to say. I mean, Giannetti is not. I mean,
I believe this pot's over 100K now.
It's hard for Giannetti to be bluffing here. I mean, it really is. It's a limped pot. There's really not much incentive in the pot for him to be getting two at a line. So,
right.
So Luke has to know this, and Luke has to play accordingly. And with a big enough bet on the turn, he might just take it down. I mean, oftentimes you have to make a decision here on the turn.
I mean, what could it be? What could Giannetti be raising here that wasn't two pair? Or that's worse than two pair?
Maybe something like a 5-6 of clubs, a set, obviously. I mean, there's definitely some air in his range, but I think when he bets the turn, air is probably not very likely. Even when he raises the flop, again, there's just not a lot to fight for. Why raise the flop unless you're like raising the flop with air here is clearly getting out of line.
If I just raised pre, there's none of this would have happened.
Luke's got it right on.
He is. He is feeling.
I knew I was making a mistake, and then I thought I put 21,000 to raise. I put 11,000.
Oh, and Giannetti bet 57,000, which is definitely enough of a bet to put Luke to a decision of either shoving or folding.
And that's exactly what happened. Luke hating life right now.
I mean, I'm just such a. It's just unreal. Out of a massively under-rep draw.
And you know, these sit-and-go formats where everything's very tight. Mistakes are really costly, Sorel, aren't they? I mean, even missed opportunities, every bet can be costly.
Yeah, definitely. And Luke paid the price there.
47. I have to tilt raise it. 10. 10. 1.
Raise.
21. That is not a limit.
And these things have a habit of biting you back. 11,000 Tony G peeling off a flop from the big blind. It's amazing. I mean, it just seems like taking flops is the last thing these guys want to do.
Right. Well, when you're playing against a guy like Luke Schwartz, you know, maybe it's okay to call 11,000 and try to peel with a king 7 suited, but and generally speaking, you know, they're going to want to get into spots where they're winning without having to show down their hands.
Right, because you can easily get in spots, right, when you're peeling off flops where you kind of like have to put chips in.
Right, exactly.
And this pot has been mercifully cheap for both players, I think.
Wow, and Tony hits the bet. And Luke hits. Luke insta-calls and wins the pot.
Exactly the same hand I had last time with the nut flush draw. I limped.
A strange bet by Tony.
I hit a club before. See how undouchey. I don't ask to look for it. Look at his hand. So I'm not a douche. I may be a bit of a douche, but I'm not a douche when it comes to like poker etiquette, basically.
A Route 66 of hands, one player out. All 5 remaining will get points, but how many? James Dempsey, using his double-up card, could take 16. Giannetti and Schwartz, though, still plenty to say in that conversation. This one's far from over.
Next time, we see who takes down maximum points in the first league match of the Party Poker Premier League Mixed Game Championship.
Look how ugly this is. Look what I make you do. Oh, I'm not talking anymore. I've got a hand. I hate him. I hate him. Oh, Max Pescatori. You won a tournament about 10 years ago, didn't you? I love Italians. My favourite food's pasta. I'm making a show, bro.